we go. Good afternoon and welcome to Senate Transportation. Could we take the roll?
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. All right, let us proceed here. We'll start with the list that we have. And first off, we have Senator Lewis, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, I've got Senate Bill 1165.
Turn your attention to Senate Bill 1165.
And I believe there is a substitute, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion on substitute.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on substitute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Substitutes before us. Senator Lewis, tell us about the substitute and then your bill.
I believe there's also an amendment to the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do we have a motion on the amendment to the substitute?
No?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
It was included in the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Is what?
That item was included in the substitute.
Okay, undo all that verbiage. All right. There we go. We have just the substitute, which has incorporated the amendment. Senator Lewis.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1165 deals with the permitting by VDOT of very important and very useful law enforcement devices in the VDOT right-of-way. Currently, those devices, VDOT is unable to permit the use of those devices in the right-of-way. These devices have been tremendously important in involved in solving of numerous crimes throughout the Commonwealth. So under current law, they do not have that authority, and so this has created significant challenges for law enforcement. So what this bill allows is that upon request of the Virginia State Police or the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, VDOT can issue a permit for the placing of these important devices in the right-of-way. The bill also places guardrails as to what these devices can be used for specifically, such as child abduction, silver alerts, various other felonies. They cannot be used for traffic enforcement or speed enforcement, traffic violations or speed enforcement. There are also strict limits on the data collection by these devices. It can only be held for 30 days, and also the data that can be collected, vehicle color, make, model, condition, and license plate information, as well as the date and time, location that the information was collected. There's also a penalty provided in there for violating these requirements, and it also provides that VDOT can revoke a permit for the placing of these devices if these requirements are in any way violated. So it provides the framework for a valuable law enforcement tool for these folks, and it allows VDOT to cooperate in the placing of these devices. So that's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. And I assume that the idea that these can't be used in any other way is that when people see them being used, they know it's serious. They know it is an important public safety issue and not routine communication.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
And we do have people who speak in favor, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Well, let me just get any questions from the committee. All right. Have your witnesses. All those here to speak in favor of the bill, please step forward.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. David Skiles with the Vector Corporation representing Flock Safety. Flock Safety is a private vendor that works with law enforcement agencies throughout the United States for the deployment of these types of devices. We want to thank, obviously, Senator Lewis for bringing this bill forward. This has been a collaborative effort. I think the patron obviously explained the bill, but I'm happy to answer any questions about how these devices work and what we're looking to do.
David, these things are obviously portable. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, what we are talking about here, they can be, yes, is the short answer. What this bill would allow for is the ability for VDOT to permit these in their VDOT right-of-way. These would be stationary devices. There are other types of license plate readers that are portable or mobile. I think it's also important, Mr. Chairman, to understand that right now, under existing law, cities can deploy these because VDOT does not have control of that right-of-way. And so this really just provides counties and jurisdictions that VDOT controls the right-of-way to use this important device.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next, Senator Carrico, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Here on behalf of the Virginia State Police Association, and we support the bill If you'll recall back when the reporters were killed in Roanoke, that it was a license plate reader that found that gentleman on I-66 heading to Washington, D.C. These are tools that we use that we're able to identify serious crimes, and just like you said, they're used for those purposes, and there was a lot of revenue invested in these, and we would like for the committee to support the bill.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm John Jones, representing the Virginia Sheriff's Association, and we support this bill.
Thank you, John. Next.
Mr. Chairman, Cassie Schroth with McGuire Woods Consulting on behalf of Ultimate, another provider of this technology in the space, and we support the bill.
Thank you. Sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Mark Haynes. I'm a captain with the Chesterfield County Police Department, and I just want to express my honor of being able to stand here before you all and speak with you today. I'm here in favor of this bill. These technologies, even in a limited fashion that we're able to utilize them now over the last 7 months, have played a major role in the safety and of our community and its welfare. It has already played a role in helping solve 7 homicides this year already. It has played a role in the removal of over 31 illegal firearms from our streets. So when we talk about these technologies making a difference in violent crime, I cannot express how important how important it is. We are looking to expand this out because there's a lot that's happening that we cannot make a difference on, and this bill would help that. And as many of our roads are VDOT supported on that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the job you're doing. All right. Anyone? Oh, here we go.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey, Virginia State Police. I know Mr. Carrico here spoke on behalf of the State Police Association, but the department also speaks in support of this bill.
All right. There we go. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? Anyone in the Zoom room?
Mr. Chairman, we only have 2 speakers in Zoom total. I'll update you if anyone raises their hand on a bill.
Okay. Anything? Oh, okay. Second. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Record your votes.
Ayes 12, no 0.
Ayes 12, no 0. The bill reports. Thank you,
Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Lewis.
Thank the committee.
Next, we have Senator McPike. Is he here? All set to go?
This would be Senate Bill 1051, Mr. Chairman, and I'd move the line amendments.
We have a motion on the line amendments.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Line amendments are before us. Would you like the
Thank you, Mr.
staff
Chairman.
to report those, or would you like to report them?
I'll walk through it real quick. It's pretty brief.
Senator McPike.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the underlying bill itself, basically this came about from a constituent that has found a couple different things over time of actually towing utility vehicles, both natural gas and electric, when they're actually trying to do service and emergency service. And of course, they have to step off the property sometimes to investigate an outside gas leak. It might be in the property next door, but under the towing rules, those vehicles are allowed to be towed from that private property. And so there's clearly a need to make sure that folks doing their job can't be towed. In a couple instances, a person came back to get additional equipment from their gas truck was gone, couldn't actually go and follow up. So it's kind of absurd that we have to legislate some common sense on this, but it's not just a one-time but multiple-time thing that's occurred. The amendments that we adopted, Mr. Chairman, also include broadband service provider. They have the same thing, investigating an outage for fiber to multiple buildings. Sometimes you have to track that down through multiple properties. And so it simply says you can't tow them for 72 hours. The amendment also makes sure that the only condition which they could tow is in case that utility truck was blocking an entrance or an exit, then there's a clear delineated need to do so. And so it's sort of a limited exemption to make sure that those who are actually providing service to multiple properties can go do that service without a threat of being towed.
Senator McPike, has the state police spoken to you about perhaps a provision in here that dealt with not blocking driveways?
We adopted that in the amendment,
You
Mr.
adopted
Chairman.
that in the amendment. Very good. All right. Questions from the committee? All right. Anyone in the audience here to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone in the Zoom world?
There are no speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Operate on a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Obenshain.
I'm looking at the amendment, and I don't see anything about, and maybe I'm not looking at the right thing, but don't see anything about driveways.
Mr. Chairman, the amendment should have on line 47, after property to insert and such vehicles do not block the entry or exit of the property. Is that the question?
Not online.
Maybe scroll down to page 2.
No.
No?
Mr. Chairman.
Nikhil, what do we?
Mr. Chairman, Amendment 8 on page 2, it's line 47, introduced after property, and it inserts, and such vehicle does not block the entry or exit of the property.
Does that satisfy your concern?
Sure, as long as it's in the amendment.
Okay,
And-
it appears to be so, because I know that was brought up at our docket meeting, and it seems to be in there. And is Major Maxey, could you give me the high sign? Does that work for you? Okay, thank you so much. Again, anyone here to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone in Zoom?
There are no speakers on Zoom, Mr. Chairman.
All right, can we have a motion on the bill?
Move the report.
We have a motion, a second to report. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 11, noes 3.
Ayes 11, no 3, the bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to speaking about towing on the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, I believe we have Senator Obenshain.
Me?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, simple bridge naming bill, Senate Bill 1220. In the town of Stanley 2 years ago in February, police officer, former state trooper, Nick Wynnum was killed by a gunman on drugs who ambushed him in his patrol car. First officer in Page County that I'm aware of who's ever died in the line of duty, and the Board of Supervisors for the county and the Town Council for the town of Stanley passed resolutions asking that the one bridge in the county over the Shenandoah River be named in honor of Officer Dominic Nick J. Wynnum.
Senator Obenshain, is a member of the family here by any chance?
I don't believe so.
Okay, okay. Well, just for the record, we're so sorry that occurred, and the danger that our law enforcement officers put themselves through. You just never know what is going to happen when you leave the house in the morning, and families never know when somebody's going to be returning. So we have the bill before us. Anyone here like to speak in favor of the bill and honoring the officer? All right, I know there's no opposition.
I'm sure. Yeah, and I will second that motion.
We have a motion to report and a second. Clerk, would you open the rolls?
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Please convey the committee's condolences to the family on this
will mean a lot to the
tragic loss.
community and
Thank you.
to the family. Thank you very much.
All right. Delegate Leftwich has come to visit us, and I just want to tell you, Delegate Leftwich, my entire committee said, make the House guy go last, but I said, no. No, this is the friendly committee, and we treat our guests with a priority. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Why don't you tell us about House Bill 14 1269. This is the first House bill we'll be dealing with this year. Delegate Leftwich,
Thank you,
welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is House, as you said, House Bill 1469 is identical to Senate Bill 871, patroned by Senator Survell first, and then Cosgrove second. And my chief co-patron in the House is Delegate Bagby. And what it does is it maintains the integrity of the franchise arrangements in Virginia, and make sure that our dealers remain independent. And I'm sure you've heard this bill when it was presented by Senator Survell, and I won't belabor the point and stand by my
Okay, well,
questions.
thank you very much. I'm sure everyone on the committee, remembers the testimony on this good bill, and it did come out of here 15-0.
Move to report.
Second.
We have a motion to second to report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay on the board.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Right. And so may I expect the same treatment for every bill that comes over, Chairman?
Yes.
You refer a lot of
Yes.
bills over here.
Not for theirs, but for mine when they go over to see you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much, Delegate Leftwich. All right. Senator Favola.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Let me help you expedite your docket here. My Senate Bill 790 has run into significant issues. I think consumer protection should be a big part of any towing arrangement. And unfortunately, Planning District 8 and other parts of the Commonwealth are probably lacking the consumer protection that we truly need. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to iron out all of the snags in the consumer protection law during this session. So, Mr. Chairman, having said all that, I am going to move that we strike my bill, but I would like a letter that discusses these consumer protection issues, and I hope that this letter would be something that would pick up the issues in your bill as well.
Thank you, Senator Favola. And that letter will be written, and I would also, after this, take a motion on my bill to PBI with that same letter.
Okay.
And we have already worked out the details on what was going to be a proposed substitute, but we know who is going to be included in that in terms of the stakeholders. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay.
So Senator Favola wants to PBI?
PBI mine.
PBI her bill with a letter from the chairman to the stakeholders to put together a work group. And could we have a motion on that, please? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to PBI the bill with a chairman's letter. All in favor, record your vote, please.
Ayes 15, no zero.
And if I could also have a motion on my bill, which is Senate Bill 978, for the exact same treatment with the letter, I'd appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second. Senator Newman.
So the letters are being sent, but I guess who is going to be looking at it? Right? Is this the DMV? Because I kind of think it's about time that we revisit this. I don't want to revisit because it's hard. These bills are
big
no fun. But there needs to be more consumer protection out there. So I'd like to know who, is it DMV? Who's going to be looking at this, I guess?
I have the information here, but if you could.
Mr. Chairman, we had discussed, and I don't know, and I apologize if you've already come to this conclusion, but I thought we were going to ask the Secretary of Transportation to convene a stakeholder group with the Attorney General's office and other stakeholders.
That's level's good.
Yeah, that is, we already have all that put together.
And Mr. Chairman, one other thing, we're talking about one letter, since both of these bills deal with consumer protection.
978.
978.
Chair, are you sure it's not 979?
979. Pardon us. So they both these bills dealt with the same topic, and it deals with.
Right, 979 is the towing fee.
There we go. Okay, we have a motion and a second to PBI that bill as well. Please record your votes.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Senate Bill 979 is PBI'd with a letter to the Secretary and to create the work group. And next, let's see, we have Senator Sproul. You ready to go? You got two bills for us, I believe.
Did you want to do this one?
I got two to deal with. Get this.
Chairman, 1063.
Senator Sproul, what do you got for us?
Senate Bill 1063.
Senate Bill 1063.
Yes, sir.
Senator Sproul, please tell us about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a sub or a amendment?
No, sir.
We're good to go. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. This legislation proposed would extend the license and certificate fidelity period from 1 year to 2 years for drivers improvement clinics, driving training schools, and third parties associations. This bill would lessen the administrative burden and create a more sufficient process for drivers improvement in the clinics by DMV. The application fee will be increased from $100 to $150 to reflect the double of the fidelity period, but lower the annual cost to the applicant. The license and the certificate renewable period will also be aligned with what the business does now. And this comes from Mr. Chairman from the DMV as one of those saying that why 1 year, make it 2 years instead of 1 year, and it lessen the price for the applicant from instead of paying $100 every year, $150 every 2 years.
So, Senator Sproul, this is a save time and money bill?
Yes, sir.
All right, there we go. Any questions is that your presentation?
That's it, sir.
All right, any questions from the committee? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone like to speak in opposition? Anyone in the Zoom world?
There are no speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to report.
We have a motion to report, and we have a second. Clerk, would you open the roll?
Ayes 14, no zero. Abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, no zero. Abstention 1. The bill reports. Senator Sproul, your second offering.
It's 1064, Mr. Chairman.
10. Turn your attention to Senate Bill 1064.
This legislation represents the results of several months of discussion between DMV and LKQ and auto recycling with facilities across the Commonwealth to address an issue that has been arising from destruction of non-repairable vehicles. This legislation allows insurers or their authorized agents to consider vehicles without a title or non-repairable by reporting the specified data to DMV, certifying that all liens and all payments have been satisfied. This mirrors similar process in about 20 other states, including Maryland, Tennessee, allow the vehicle without a title to be recycled.
Okay, and this removes the provision that's in existing law about having to wait 10 years, or that the car is at least 10 years old. Okay, very good. Anyone from the committee have a question? All right, those speak in favor of the bill. The gentleman from LKQ is right behind you.
We have a substitute. Back up. You have the substitute that I didn't know about. I apologize.
Okay.
We have the substitute.
We have a substitute. Do you have a motion on the substitute?
Move the substitute.
Substitute. All in favor of the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Substitutes before us. Does the substitute, was that included in your presentation?
It should have been. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you just briefly describe the substitute?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, Rob Bohannon here representing LKQ Corporation. The substitute is actually the language we worked out with DMV to use an existing process that they have for getting a non-repairable certificate for these vehicles without a title. So it's the final language we worked on with DMV.
Okay, very good. Any other comments from the industry?
I just want to say thank you to DMV for working through several months of drafts going back and forth. They helped us get to a good place to solve an issue. This is a small percentage of vehicles. Our client estimates about 5%, but these are your problem children that sit and sit and sit. We know we're going to destroy them. It's just hard to move them. This allows us to move them through the process, get them recycled, get more parts in the marketplace.
Very good. Ben Dendy.
Ben Dendy, representing Copart, a global provider of online vehicle auctions. We are in support of the substitute bill, and Copart has a significant presence in Virginia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone in the audience in favor of the non-destruction of vehicles?
We have one speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Vic Nichols, when your screen loads, please unmute and provide your testimony. Vic Nichols.
Come on, Vic.
Vic, are you there?
Vic Nichols, please unmute.
Yes, I just got on.
Hey, Vic.
This will cut time, money, and duplicative work. Hope you move to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. All right, there we go. Do we have a motion on the bill? If you get Vic
Move to
Nichols behind
report.
you, you're good.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Senator Cosgrove.
I have a question for Mr. Bohannon. For Mr. Bohannon.
Oh, you said me, right?
No, I have a question for Mr. Bohannon.
You mean that one?
That one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, you need to understand that Mr. Bohannon, when he was at Virginia Tech, was a trombone player. Now, are we?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I need to correct the senator. I was a tuba player.
Oh, then I'm doubly. Never mind.
It is. Yeah, I think there was concern about your choice of instrument, but that's okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to say during that time between me and Senator Rouse, we had the entire game, first quarter, halftime, and second quarter covered. So,
and you got in free.
Mr. Chairman,
there you
I'll
go.
vote
All right, thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Overchain.
I'll vote for this if he'll do the hokey pokey.
It is. How quickly they turn cruel. It is. All right, anyway, we have a motion on the bill.
Move to report.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Folks, put your votes on the board. Okay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I believe next we have Senator Suravel. We have a line amendment. Would the staff please report the line amendment?
Mr. Chairman, the line amendments remove specified sections of a couple of sections within the bill.
Could you speak up just a bit?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, the amendments remove specifications of subsection G and B in the bill for certain sections of code.
And what does that accomplish for the bill? What, Senator Suravel? Or
Crime Commission staff asked me to make those. They thought it would clarify the intent of the bill. I don't remember right now what subsection G of 18.2270.1 is. I can look that up if you want, but
I think you have somebody who can help you.
Oh, Crime Commission. Yeah, Colin can explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. Subsection G, very famous subsection.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Colin Draber, Deputy Director with the State Crime Commission. We're removing the subsection G and subsection B references because the way OES categorizes these, they can't capture the subsections. So the 18.2270.1, that's the tampering with an interlock device. That's the only criminal penalty in that statute. So it's just saying, give us the tampering with an interlock device under 270.1. And subsection B is the driving, a subsection of driving on a DUI revoked license. So because OES can't go by subsection, only code section, we just need to make it the code section.
Very, very good. Senator Cosgrove, could you review that for us and tell us what you just said? Nope, I couldn't either. All right, we assume it's good. Do we have a motion, or did we do that on the amendment? We have a motion and a second to accept the amendments. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, the bill as amended is before us. Senator Servo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what this bill does, this bill is a recommendation of the Virginia State Crime Commission. And over the last 12 months, we did a study on the declining rate of prosecution of driving while intoxicated cases and the increase in driving under the influence of drug cases and lack of prosecution of those that's been going on over the last 10 years. If you look at the data, the number of DUI prosecutions in Virginia is off by about 50% over a decade. And that trend predates the pandemic. It's not all pandemic related, although it's, I think, sharpened after the pandemic. During the process, we took testimony from a lot of law enforcement who also indicated they felt that the amount of driving under the influence of drugs, whether it's marijuana or other types of drugs, is on the rise. But they don't really have the tools to either detect or prosecute it very effectively. And there was a lot of different ideas that were thrown around, but one of the things we all realized was that we don't have a lot of good data or information to be able to figure out what's going on. So, for example, the chief medical examiner doesn't test every dead traffic accident victim for drugs. Department of Forensic Science doesn't test every vial of blood for drugs if they find enough alcohol in there to prosecute somebody. And so basically we came up with this bill which gathers a whole bunch of information about DUIs being prosecuted by jurisdiction, by law enforcement agency, by the number of officers. It asks the DMV to gather information about the amounts and levels of drugs that are found in deceased victims from car accidents and from and also from blood tests that are done in DUI prosecutions. So we have a lot more information to be able to figure out how we can develop some better tools to deal with this in the future. And this would create a report that the DMV would put out every year, starting in about 2 years, detailing a whole bunch of different data points on DUI, under alcohol and DUI drugs. So that's basically what it does. We got some of this information that the Crime Commission staff was basically able to assemble over the last year. It took them a couple weeks to do it, and it was very helpful. But we'd like a better, more polished kind of report that looks prettier. We get it every year.
So my understanding was you wanted it to be, easily discernible through graphic.
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody has to gather the data every year and then put it in graphs and charts and things.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peake.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for the patron.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody indicate if they thought there possibly, potentially could be any kind of a correlation between the decriminalizing and then the legalization of recreational use of marijuana and the increase of driving while not on alcohol but intoxicated on drugs?
Yeah, but that's partly why we decided to focus on it as a commission, was because there was a concern about the increased use of marijuana and whether or not we're equipped to properly police the use of marijuana and drugs. And actually, one of the presentations we got from the Cannabis Control Authority was they did a public opinion survey across the state, and they found that something like 30% of Virginians think it's okay to smoke marijuana and drive, whereas only about like 10% or 5% or something think it's okay to drink alcohol and drive. So for some reason, there's a big disconnect on marijuana versus alcohol. There's clearly some public awareness stuff we need to work on, which is what actually DMV's Traffic Safety Division, that's the kind of thing they work on. And so, we have work to do. And we were hoping that this report would help identify places for us to focus.
Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Serval, and this is probably a question for Major Maxey. You can do a breathalyzer test, for alcohol. You can do a blood test for alcohol.
Yep.
How is a law enforcement officer supposed to determine if someone is impaired by marijuana? I mean, what testing is available on the side of the road?
We took we spent probably 2 hours in one crime commission meeting talking about that. Uh-huh. And there are two different sets of trainings they put officers through. You can come explain them, but there's two different levels of certification. The highest one's called a drug recognition expert or a DRE expert. There's a lower level, and I think we're only like ARON. Yeah, that lower one is ARON. And there's only like, what, 4 troopers that are certified DREs right now, something like that in the whole state. And there's actually parallel budget amendments that were submitted, recommended by the Crime Commission to provide more money to the state police to get more of their troopers trained in ARON and more DREs certified. But there's not a consensus that those methods that are used, they haven't been validated in the same way alcohol testing has by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And so the whole area is kind of evolving. I would also just note that there's some companies that claim to have technology where you can do breath tests for marijuana, and we talked about potentially authorizing that, but the most accurate breath test they have for marijuana only detects use within the last 12 hours, which means you could have smoked the night before, be completely sober out driving, and then this device would accuse you, falsely get you arrested when you weren't under the influence. And so we decided that technology wasn't quite ready for us to authorize yet. So there's lots that's evolving, but he might have something to say too.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Can I
Senator
see if I can get my
Suderline.
answer from Major Maxey first? I mean,
Mr. Chairman, Major Ron Maxey with Virginia State Police.
yeah, Major, basically you have this sharp attorney behind you here. You have one of your officers who's ARON or whatever. Is that sharp attorney going to be able to really, question that trooper, saying, tell me how you know my client was impaired? I mean, I just don't get how you do that.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove, and I'd agree with a per se limit with the alcohol. Unfortunately, a lot of times on the road it is a combination, and the alcohol with the per se limit, they go that direction with it. They get the breath test, they have what they need for a conviction or an impairment. When there is a combination of other drugs that are there that are not being documented, so it is often missed.
Okay, thank you. I think on my machine here, Senator Spruill was next, and then I'll get Senator Suderline.
Mr. Chairman, I had three questions.
3 questions. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. The first one, is it legal to smoke marijuana right now?
If you're over 21 and you're not on a school property, I think there might be a couple, and not in public.
All right. What I'm getting at, if someone would smoke marijuana now legally, and they get in the car and start driving, so how are they going to know exactly the limit that you were talking about? And then when they get stopped by a policeman, they say, yes, I was smoking it. It was legal for me to smoke it. Now I'm going home. So how that person going to know how much he should smoke if he can get in the car and drive?
Mr. Chairman, this is part of the problem, and we talked about this in the Crime Commission about the possibility of establishing per se limits. They've been adopted, I think, in maybe 2 states. But the part of the problem with marijuana is that it's the level of intoxication you feel is a lot more variable to tolerance than I think alcohol is, and it affects different people differently. And one of the reasons you also can't set a per se limit is because it's just not nearly as predictable. So I would just say you need to sort of gauge in on whether you feel okay. It's kind of the answer, and that's partly what makes it so hard to prosecute. Is it's very hard to show that somebody's under the influence, and also people metabolize the marijuana, the THC, a lot faster. The metabolism curve goes way up and then it shoots way down and goes level, whereas alcohol shoots up and goes down very slow. And so it's a lot easier to prosecute people because it stays in your blood much longer.
Mr. Chairman, last question.
Senator Spruill, you have another question?
So now with me, if I drink a glass and a half of wine, you got to carry me home because I'm not a drinker. But now, so if I'm in that car and you just saying that the metabolism living of some people go up and down, so I'm in that car because I had some marijuana and I'm going home. So I'm going to hire you. So my question is that if that officer stopped me, how is he going to know the level? Because there's nothing in the books was saying that before you got in that car, you smoked a whole lot of marijuana, but you're over 2 or 3 ounces, whatever the ounce is. So how am I going to know? Because, yes, I had a whole lot with the guys. I'm driving home. So I'm going to hire you to defend me in court because show me in the code somewhere where it says that you can drive, smoke all you want to smoke, you're in a safe, legally, wherever you want to, but now you're in that car going home, and that policeman stopped me. So how in the world can he give me a ticket?
You're talking about marijuana?
Yeah. What else am I talking about, brother?
Well, I didn't know if you were talking about alcohol.
No.
You said something about drinking wine
No,
too, but
no marijuana. So
Okay.
the question was, so I'm going to hire you as be my lawyer because to defend me in court because I want to know how can the officer determine whether or not I'm right, how much did I have been smoking and not been smoking. How can he give me a ticket?
I got it.
Merely for your statistical purposes.
Right. Well, Mr. Chairman, this kind of goes to the heart of why we need all this data is we're trying to figure out a better way to prosecute these things. Because right now it is illegal to drive under the influence of marijuana. That is the law today, but very few people are prosecuted and very few prosecutions are successful that are prosecuted because it's so hard to prosecute. But basically the police would have to articulate that your driving behavior was somehow impaired, and that's what caught their attention. They got you out of the car, your eyes are bright red, your speech makes no sense. You know, your marijuana has different intoxicating properties than alcohol. It doesn't affect your balance and coordination nearly as much as alcohol does, and so they have to be able to articulate different factors, and that's why they often have to have these drug recognition experts to say, you know, your pupils are dilated or something, which alcohol doesn't do unless you're like super high. That's my rough explanation. But you don't see a lot of these cases because they don't know how to prosecute it, they don't know how to investigate it, they don't know what to note down. And that's what we're hoping to get more data to figure out how to do.
Senator Spruill, that's your last question? Oh.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question. I saw at the end of the summary, it's always helpful to have something that says it's the recommendation of someone, and it says it's the recommendation of the Virginia State Crime Commission. So did all the Senate Republicans on there vote for this?
There weren't any there. But there were 5 House Republicans there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, there we go. Anyone in the, Senator Rouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for the Speaker.
Please, go ahead.
Senator Serville, earlier, I'm just out of curiosity, Major Massey said Aaron. Just want to make sure that's not Aaron. But I'm curious to the acronym Aaron. What does that mean?
What is it? A-Rod. It's kind of like the New York shortstop.
And what is seriously, what is A-Rod? What is anyone stand for?
Advanced recognition of drugs.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey. Senator, I spend my time nowadays in meetings like this, not out on the road getting certified or running these tests. So unfortunately, I do not know what that acronym stands for. It is DRE and A-Rod.
Arising from the gallery. All right, here we go. Could you introduce yourself and tell us what the acronym is?
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Saunders. I serve as Director of DMV's Virginia Highway Safety Office. ARID is Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement.
Aha.
Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement.
ARID. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That helps me understand this a lot better.
All right. See, this is a learning committee. Senator Favola.
I'm going to make a motion because at the end of the day, this is a study and a report.
An annual report.
An annual report, but I think it's you've laid out some helpful items. Yeah. So that's my motion to report the bill. Does it have to go to finance?
It will, and the one thing I needed to ask first, if anyone in the audience wished to speak in favor of the bill. Anyone wish to speak in opposition? Anyone in the Zoom world?
We have no speakers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have the motion would be to report and refer to finance, because Senator Serville, you do have a placeholder budget amendment for a certain large amount of money.
Well, I put it in case there was a FIS, but there wasn't a FIS, and I just sent it this finance last meeting today.
Okay, I'm informed by the clerk that we have not received a letter on your bill.
Yeah.
So I am going to take the bold step here of saying that it does not need to go to finance.
Honoring my motion to report the bill.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Could you open the rolls?
Senator Spruill.
There we go.
Ayes 14, no 0, abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, noes 0, abstentions 1, and there is no fists on the bill, and so I think we're good to go. I have 2 more quick ones, and I would like to turn the podium over to Senator Favola, and I'll get these 2, and I believe we'll be done.
I think we did our PBI work early.
Thank you, Senator Favola. I have 1473.
Senator Marsden, 1473. Okay.
Thank you. We don't have any substitute or amendments to report, I do not believe, on this. Okay, we're good to go. Senate Bill 1473 simply provides that when a toll operator contacts the Department of Motor Vehicles for registration information on who to send an unpaid toll advice to, that the department would provide an email address if one is available. Existing provisions require an invoice for an unpaid toll to be sent by first-class mail. The bill contains some technical amendments. This legislation makes no changes to how a toll operator must notify an individual of an unpaid toll by sending a first-class letter. However, it does provide an additional mechanism to notify an individual of an unpaid toll via email should an email address exist on file with the DMV. Much like with other registration information, the email address would be protected by privacy provisions within the code, which limit what a toll operator can do with the information. Both the Virginia Department of Transportation and the Department of Motor Vehicles have seen this legislation and have no concerns. I hope it would be the will of the committee to endorse this legislation.
Okay, your bill's very straightforward. Are there speakers in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this bill? Please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, David Skiles with the Vector Corporation representing Transurban, which is the operator of the 495 and 95 express lanes. Really appreciate Senator Marsden bringing this bill forward. We had brought this to him earlier this year. We obviously are in support of the bill. It's one more tool in our toolbox to contact individuals who have unpaid toll invoices. So appreciate the committee's consideration.
Okay. Is anybody wishing to speak in opposition in the audience? Seeing none. Do we have any speakers on Zoom? No speakers on Zoom. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Marsden, this allows, the dissemination of an email. Now, somebody has to be notified by first-class mail.
Correct.
Yes, but I guess my question is, as a follow-up, will the email take the place of a first-class mail notification?
No, it does not. What it does is provide the person. Sometimes people don't go get their certified mail. It fails to deliver to the house. It's at the post office. You don't go get it. It's just an additional mechanism of letting somebody know they have an issue out there they need to deal with.
Thank you.
Okay, it's an addition to, not a substitute. Any other comments or questions from my colleagues?
Move the report.
Okay, a motion has been made to report, and there's a second. Okay, I will briefly take a comment from somebody on Zoom. Are you in favor? Why don't you just tell us if you're in favor or in opposition?
Vic Nichols, please. She's coming in now.
She's got a motion, Madam Chair.
Leave alone. That's my party.
Vic Nichols, please unmute and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. I am in absolute 100% support of this bill. Thank you so much, because most people actually do love getting stuff by email instead of the mail, where it can go anywhere and everywhere or be lost. Thank you, Senator Marsden.
We appreciate
Madam
your
Chair,
comments.
my first Vic Nichols approved
Okay, well, let's just let the record so show. Colleagues, there's a motion before us. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Senator Sproul for McPike. Ayes 15, no 0.
Unanimously reports, Senator Marsden. Okay, your
last bill, Senate Bill 978 is before you. There has been a long time problem around towing, law enforcement towing, public safety towing, in terms of getting operators paid, in terms of dealing with the cargo and what have you. And this moves the ball a little along. It's more clarifying legislation than anything, but it brings together the heavy tow operators, the Truckers Association, and the insurance industry. And here is what the bill does. This applies to trucks that have been involved in an accident or breakdown, and these large trucks need to be removed from the roads. Police will request a public safety tow, and this bill just clarifies the existing lien to make it clear that the lien applies immediately and to the entire vehicle. The cargo owner can retrieve the cargo after the truck has been towed away, and removing a lien on cargo brought peace in the valley. In other words, you have a truck, it's been hired by the owner of the cargo to transport the material. There is an accident. We've all seen it. The trailer is down and off the highway in a ditch. It takes a while to get it off. It's jackknifed. Things are spilled out everywhere. We want to make sure that the owner of that cargo can get their cargo back, and that the tow truck operator has a lien against the vehicle that they have towed in case their bill does not get paid. One of the problems we have is that sometimes a $35,000, $30,000 tow, the truck may not be worth that, and they don't come get it. They just give up their vehicle rather than pay the toll fee. And it is a problem for the industry. A lot of these bills don't get paid because nationally these trucks come from all over the place, and we can't enforce things. And the last thing. Virginia Public Safety Towers doing work on behalf of the state are having collection problems, as we've just stated, mostly with out-of-state drivers, and we believe clarifying the existing lien status is just part of the solution to the problem. And the substitute clarifies the difference between personal property recovery and cargo recovery. And if you need to go back and get your cell phone, that's a little bit different than going and getting your vehicle back before you pay the tow fee. So that's what the bill does. It's clarifying in nature. And take any questions.
Okay, I think that's a clear explanation. Is anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the bill? Mr. Habib?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, very briefly, Greg Habib from Gentry Lock, here on behalf of the Virginia Association of Professional Tow Operators. We appreciate Senator Marsden bringing this bill. I want to give you all a heads up. There's actually two bills to address this problem. There's Senator Marsden's bill on the lien side. Chairman Austin from the House side has an attorney's fees bill. We think these two together will help advance the ball in helping getting towers paid. We also want to acknowledge that our partners, the truckers that we've been working with on this, and Mr. Bennett, and we are committed to working with him to address their concerns as well in terms of the amount of the billing, the clarity of the billing, the disclosures, everything else. So we're going to keep working together to both make sure that we get paid a reasonable amount and that they get charged a reasonable amount, and we can all stay in business. Thank you.
Okay, I understand there is a substitute, Senator Marsden?
Is there a substitute on this? That was
Staff is telling me there is.
Please.
Okay. Is the substitute up online? Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to move the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And Madam Chair, I believe I did report the substitute. What was it?
You explained the substitute.
I explained the substitute.
Yes.
Thank
okay.
you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the bill in the audience? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to the bill in the audience?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak to this bill, please raise your hand electronically.
Thank you.
We have no speakers, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, a motion has been made to report the substitute, and there's a second, and there's no fiscal impact. This does not have to go to finance. Okay, will the clerk please open the roll?
Ayes 15, no zero.
Okay, your bill reports unanimously to the floor.
Madam Chair, I believe that completes the docket. That is correct. Thank you.
I believe it does. I'll ask the staff, is there anything else to come before the committee? Okay, hearing none, the committee shall rise.